I wanted to be a part of something that seemed like it would be a lot of fun to do, but that would also give the viewer a lot of pleasure, just to be able to sit back, enjoy the ride.
And you're the ringleader.
I would have been pregnant. I would have been knocked up at 17, and my mother knew that, and she kept me under lock and key. I wanted to be a mom at a very young age.
She has long been celebrated as Hollywood's golden girl, the woman whose smile could light up the darkest theater and whose charm made her America's sweetheart. Sandra Bullock, with her warmth, humor, and unmatched talent, became one of the most beloved actresses of her generation. But behind the cameras, behind the awards and laughter, her life has been scarred by betrayal, grief, and unimaginable heartbreak. At 61, her story is not just inspiring, and it is devastating. Once you discover what she has endured, you will never look at her the same way again. This is the untold truth of Sandra Bullock, a life of dazzling success shadowed by tragedy, a journey that reveals how even the brightest stars can carry the heaviest burdens. Sandra Annette Bullock was born in Arlington, Virginia in 1964. Her childhood was anything but ordinary. Her mother, Helga Meyer, was a German opera singer, and her father, John Bullock, a U.S. Army employee and part-time vocal coach. Because of her mother's career, Sandra spent much of her childhood in Europe, constantly moving from one place to another. While this gave her cultural richness and fluency in German, it also left her with a lingering sense of rootlessness. She was always the new girl, adapting to fresh surroundings while never truly feeling settled. Unlike most children her age, Sandra's upbringing lacked consistency. She often had to fend for herself, learning resilience early. That resilience would later become her greatest armor in Hollywood. Yet, the instability also planted seeds of loneliness that followed her into adulthood. Was this early turbulence the training ground for her future fame? Or did it leave her more vulnerable to heartbreaks waiting down the road? When Sandra moved to New York City to chase her acting dream, life was anything but glamorous. She worked bartending shifts, waited tables, and checked coats at nightclubs, all while enduring countless rejections at auditions. Small roles eventually came her way, but her true breakthrough happened in 1994, when she starred opposite Keanu Reeves in Speed. Overnight, Sandra Bullock became a household name. What set her apart was authenticity. In an industry where stars were carefully manufactured, Sandra was refreshingly real. She did not try to be perfect, she was relatable, the kind of woman audiences felt they could know in real life. But Hollywood is not kind, especially to women. Sandra had to prove herself again and again. She was not content with being typecast as a rom-com darling. She fought for serious roles, and in 2010 she reached the pinnacle by winning an Academy Award for her role in The Blind Side. Professionally, she was unstoppable. Personally, her world was about to fall apart. In 2010, Sandra stood on the Oscar stage, tears in her eyes, thanking her then-husband, motorcycle builder Jesse James, for his love and support. To the world, she seemed to have it all. A career at its peak, a devoted husband, and the admiration of millions. But just weeks later, her perfect world crumbled. Tabloids revealed that Jesse James had been unfaithful, not once but multiple times with multiple women. The scandal exploded like wildfire. The woman who had just been crowned Hollywood royalty was suddenly humiliated on the global stage. For Sandra, who valued loyalty and family above all else, the betrayal was unbearable. The divorce was swift, but the wounds were deep. Her greatest professional achievement had been poisoned by personal heartbreak. Overnight, she went from Oscar winner to tabloid fodder, forced to endure speculation about her private life. And yet, Sandra refused to let this betrayal define her. Even as her marriage collapsed, Sandra had been quietly pursuing something deeply personal: adoption. In 2010, she finalized the adoption of her son, Louis. What should have been a moment of pure joy collided with the implosion of her marriage. Suddenly, she found herself a single mother. But rather than faltering, she embraced the role with courage and determination. Sandra poured her love into Louis, determined to give him the stability she had never known as a child. In 2015, her family grew again when she adopted her daughter, Layla. Both children became the center of her world. Unlike many celebrities, Sandra fiercely guarded their privacy. She rarely shared personal details and shielded them from the chaos of Hollywood. Still, motherhood brought challenges. She often admitted she felt torn between being the nurturing mother she longed to be and the hardworking professional her career demanded. But if Hollywood tested her, her children gave her purpose. They became her anchor, the reason she could endure pain and continue forward. In 2015, Sandra's life took an unexpected turn when she met photographer Bryan Randall. This time, the love was different. Bryan was private, grounded, and devoted to Sandra and her children. He stepped seamlessly into the role of father figure, offering the kind of stability Sandra had always longed for. Sandra called him the love of my life. Together, they built a home away from the glare of Hollywood, focusing on family and love. But behind the scenes, Bryan was fighting a devastating secret battle. He had been privately struggling with ALS, a cruel disease that strips the body of strength while leaving the mind fully aware. Sandra stood by him in silence, caring for him away from the cameras. Only a few knew the truth. In August 2023, Bryan passed away. For Sandra, the loss was shattering. She had already endured betrayal and grief in the past, but losing Bryan, her partner, her rock, her children's father figure, was a devastation beyond words. Once again, she retreated from the spotlight, mourning in private while the world speculated. After Bryan's death, Sandra's life became quieter. She stepped back from projects, prioritizing her children over fame. Friends described her as inconsolable, but they also noticed her fierce determination to be present for Louis and Layla. She often spoke about gratitude. "I feel lucky every day I wake up and my children are healthy, and I have a roof over my head," she once said. Simple yet profound words from a woman who had endured so much. Her grief was heavy, but her children became her anchor once again. For Sandra, fame has always been a double-edged sword. With every success came scrutiny, and with scrutiny came invasive attention. During her divorce, paparazzi camped outside her home, desperate to capture her pain. Gossip magazines exploited her heartbreak. Even later, as a protective mother, Sandra battled the fear of strangers photographing her children. She withdrew from interviews, skipped red carpet events, and took long breaks from acting. Fame had given her wealth and recognition, but robbed her of peace. Her struggle raises a haunting question. Can anyone truly live freely when the world refuses to respect their grief, their love, and their family? Now at 61, Sandra Bullock's life reads like both a triumph and a tragedy. She is one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, admired by millions, yet her personal journey has been marked by betrayal, grief, and loss. But Sandra's legacy is not just her films or her Oscar. It is her resilience. It is her devotion as a mother. It is her strength to keep moving forward even when life shattered her world again and again. From the humiliation of betrayal to the quiet joy of motherhood to the crushing loss of Bryan Randall, Sandra Bullock has endured it all. And still, she continues to walk forward, gracefully, quietly, with love as her guiding force. Her story asks us all, what does it truly mean to have it all when happiness can be taken away so suddenly? And how do you rebuild when tragedy keeps returning? Sandra Bullock has answered with her life. True strength is not measured by fame or fortune, but by resilience, humility, and love. That will forever be her legacy.